Hello ladies and gentlemen, this is Bane, once again back from God Gaming to talk a little bit about Battlefleet Gothic. Today I'm showing you off the Eldar, and I purposely didn't show you the Eldar in the early stages because, well, Eldar have got a bit of a reputation at the moment. The problem with Eldar is they are immensely powerful weapon-wise. They use something called pulsars, and if you run into a pulsar fleet in-game, as you'll see to what happens to this ship in a minute, you'll see that they just simply evaporate enemy vessels. Now the big blue beams flying across from my ships here are the enemy my pulsars, sorry, not the enemy pulsars, but my pulsars, and here I go again, hitting that ship, and you can see, boom, that ship is gone. And that is just one burst. So a lot of people don't like the Eldar, feel they're OP because of this one ability that some of their ships have. However, that's not really what the Eldar are all about. The Eldar are actually pretty good in other areas as well. For example, their star cannons generally are more accurate than most other races, equivalent cannons if you like, and they're pretty handy in a fight. They're very manoeuvrable, and that's what kind of gives them their edge. However, they're not perfect. For example, they rely on their prow weaponry, so they need to be facing their target to be able to get that shot off. Now, you may be saying, well, there's got to be, a way to deal with these guys, and there is. Unfortunately, they're really susceptible to certain abilities. So, fairly similar to the Orcs and how I explained those, I'm hopefully going to take you through some of the pluses and minuses of the Eldar today. Now, the Eldar themselves, they have a cooldown, as you can see, counting down there from 12 to 11 to 10, which allows them to do kind of an ultra maneuver or an extra burst of energy, if you like. And it's really, really handy to have that kind of extra burst of energy to really take it to the enemy or take away from the enemy. They also have a really good maneuver, which is a skill you can get called Vols maneuver. What that allows you to do, if you're moving forward in a direction, when you click that button, you can actually make your ships move 180 degrees instantaneously in the other direction. So they are incredibly maneuverable if you set them upright, but they do have some weaknesses. So before I go into the weaknesses though, let's just talk a little about general Eldar gameplay. You can see here I'm playing with Khaine again. He's actually using the Voidstalker battleship while I'm running 2 ships of the line. And now I'm fitting 2 pulsars each on my ships. He's fitting 4 just on his one battleship. I'm running Biltan, he's running same hand. And I'll explain why I'm running Biltan and why he's running same hand in a short while. But essentially, one of the nice things about my ships is I have torpedoes. So I can still fire off torpedoes and add in some extra pressure, if you like, to the enemy. However, remember, this will give away my position. The Eldar obviously have stealth mode, they can go silent running, so their ships will go invisible if you activate that as well, if you want to hide from the enemy's vision. But what really makes the Eldar quite fun to play is, as I said, their maneuverability and speed. Note though, that other than having Vols maneuver equipped, all they can really do is go forward, so you do have to get them out of trouble. And if you get an enemy that's kind of determined to take them down, you're going to run into trouble there, because they are going to try and use abilities against you. So you kind of need to be aware of this. What's really good again about Eldar, again, we talked about their accuracy. Taking upgrades on their star cannons that increase accuracy is also worthwhile, especially if you're going to play other Eldar. Pulsar ships, while damaging, are not good against other Eldar vessels. You really want to be running some Pulsar-like cruisers. Sorry, not Pulsar, Star Cannon-like cruisers, as they generally fare better because, again, the thing with Pulsars is you actually have to keep your Pulsar locked on target. So if you're facing an opponent that's quite manoeuvrable, it can be quite difficult to keep that Pulsar in there. And you can see this enemy here is actually using shield explosions and trying to obviously use shield bombs where possible to try and deal with our ships. You're also susceptible, because you don't have shields, you've got hollow fields, to things like Nova Cannons if they do manage to score a hit near you. And being Eldar, you're very fragile. So I wouldn't recommend getting rammed by any ship. Otherwise, you will likely lose most of your health. So they're not really ideal for those kind of circumstances. They're more of a hit and run, keep your guns facing forward. Now a little tip, if you are running pulsars, remember pulsars for the most part are around about 6k range unless you take upgrades. So you may want to set your engagement range, like I have on mine, to about 3k. This encourages the ships to keep on moving forward towards your enemy and firing, and also means they'll keep momentum that in case you do take Vols maneuver, you can immediately switch 180 degrees if you feel you're in danger. As I said, we don't want to be getting rammed. The other thing that's quite nice on Eldar is the other ability wise is taking things like the Spirit Stone, where you can actually keep an eye on things that are out of your normal vision, and also taking other abilities that help with your running silent. So favour wise, I mentioned Build Tan, I mentioned Same Hand. Same Hand works out really well for extra damage when you're ambushing from stealth. Although at the moment there's no way to really tell if you're getting those procs off. We just have to assume that it's there, and hopefully the devs are going to fix that. Build Tan on the other hand is really good if you find that you're quite susceptible, as Eldar are, to lightning strikes and other forms of boarding action. Taking Build Tan obviously gives you increased troops, and also gives you a really nice ability called Kaela, Mensha Khaine, or Khaine's Wrath, where you yourself have good troops for boarding actions if you should need them. Remember, you're still going to be playing missions where you have to recover things like data, so having the extra troops here isn't a bad idea. I'd also recommend on the Eldar, because they're already pretty accurate, looking at actually increasing your troop value via way of crew upgrades, just to make sure that those lightning actions aren't taking you down. The Eldar don't do well if they lose their generators, they especially don't do well if they start to lose their guns. So really, trying to mitigate component damage, trying to mitigate loss of your engines, your deck, is really important as Eldar, because if you do lose any of that, you're probably in trouble. And most of all, if you lose your engines, you can pretty much guarantee you're going to lose your Eldar ships. So Eldar play, very cautious. Now, we mentioned earlier, a lot of people think Eldar are OP because of this very gameplay that they play at the moment. However, trust me, Eldar can be dealt with pretty easily. What are they susceptible to? Well, they're susceptible to taunting. If you taunt an Eldar ship, like most other ships, they're going to have to engage you directly and the player loses control. They also don't like having their abilities disabled. So if you're playing Chaos, for example, using Celeste Favour is really helpful here for shutting down their abilities, as this also shuts down their pulsars. The other thing you may want to consider is things like Stasis Bomb, and we're not just talking about one, we're talking about 2 or 3. If you taunt, meaning Stasis Bomb, you can trap Eldar dead. And also, any other faction, just ram their ships. If you ram their ships, they're going to take more damage than you, guaranteed, and you're going to be able to do a lot of damage. Other things they're weakness to, we already just mentioned it. If they're not Build Tan, which a lot of the battleships won't be, you want to try using boarding actions and lightning strikes. They don't do very well against these items, so just be aware of that and try using those to deal with the Eldar where you can. You can see here, I'm showing you a game where actually we're going to lose this game in the long run. It's not particularly because we played badly, but because the other team actually played pretty well. So you need to bear in mind that you're not invincible just because you're playing Eldar. You are powerful, you do a lot of damage, however, you're not invincible. You can see me bursting out some of the area of effect abilities there, trying to get my ship out of harm's way. But we are facing a pretty tough opponent in this one, and we're actually doing the mission where we need to destroy the defense platforms. Now it starts off well, but we quickly decide that I need to try and take out some of these defense platforms so that we can actually complete and win the game. Unfortunately, while I'm at these defense platforms, the Imperials with the Chaos all try to gang up on the battleship as it's a bit slower, and they manage to keep within its visual range so you can't get away to cloak. I'm trying to provide cover fire where I can, but it's not going to work out in the long term for myself and Draconis here, as they have a lot of nasty abilities. And you can see here, my ship is now being taunted, and there is pretty much nothing I can do about this at the moment. All I can do is wait. I'm going to try and use my Vols maneuver and try and burst away where I can. But you saw how effective taunt could be for throwing the player off guard. Now, if they followed that up with a stasis bomb or maybe a secondary taunt, I probably would have been in a lot of trouble because I would have had to wait for my cooldown. And you can see that even though I've got full holofield on here, the amount of firepower plowing into my ship is actually causing me a lot of damage. So I'm trying to get out of range. I'm going to try and go behind this asteroid field where I can, which is a bit of a risky maneuver because no one really wants to fly too close to an asteroid field, let's be honest. So overall, I'm going to do my best to try and stay out of the way and try and get to these gun platforms. I can see that my teammate Draconis is already attacking the gun platform's battleship, while the Chaos and Imperial fleets are trying to chase me down. But I managed to slip through, and I'm managing to get some distance on them, which is only good for me. They started to turn back towards Draconis, and hopefully he's going to be able to do some damage. I just check in to make sure that he's doing okay, while I position my pulse cruiser for a run at the next battery turret, which is quite far away from here. Hopefully going to get myself in position for a bit of a strike. I can see Draconis is trying his best to take out the gun platforms, but he's being closed on fast. Or Eldar also really don't like ordnance, so they may want to try and take either the Dark Star upgrade, which you can see that I'm running, or also launching fighters from their carrier ships where possible to try and give them a little bit of defense against enemy ordnance. At the moment, Chaos Ordnance especially is very strong, so you kind of need to watch out for that when you're playing Eldar, as well as obviously being taunted, stasis bomb, rammed to death. They really are not as easy as people think they are to play. And as I said, it's not an I win button just because you're running Eldar. You need to be very careful. But they are powerful, and you can see here I'm just streaming through with my pulsars there, and now I'm going to apply some damage with my star cannons to try and finish this turret off. Now, the battleship is still being chased, and Draconis has dropped a stasis bomb himself to try and scare away the enemy. I'm going to try and get away where I can before I take too much damage myself, and go into silent running, try and stay invisible from the enemy so I can line up on the last remaining target, which is this starbase here. However, the Chaos player's not falling for this, and I've not really got much choice, so I'm going to go for it anyway in a second. Oh no, I'm not going to go for it. Obviously I've got that wrong. I'm actually going to try and run away a little bit and hope that the enemy isn't going to keep on chasing after me, as there is an Orgar probe that I've had to take a little bit of an emergency dodge from. Chaos player is still obsessed with running after me, but again, playing Eldar together, this allows Draconis to obviously try and peel off where he can. Chaos player is a bit bored of hunting me now as I am invisible, and is trying to turn away from me and heading back for the enemy battleship. However, Draconis is being dogged by an Imperial a little bit here, so he's feeling the pressure himself. Chaos player is still guarding that last station. He knows that he can't afford to lose that station. The question is, how long will he chase me for? He's starting to turn away again. I'm feeling a little bit more gutsy. I'm going to get ready for my run to try and take this out. And that Imperial will just not leave Draconis' battleship alone. So, you know, if you're asking me, is the Eldar battleship good? Yes, it's powerful, but it is incredibly slow. It can't get away as easily as people may think that it can. So, me, myself, when I'm playing Eldar, I prefer the humble battlecruiser, and I also prefer the ships of the line when I'm playing. Again, a lot of people will disagree with me, but hey ho, not everyone's always going to agree with you, right? So I've managed to do some good damage here. I've used my Falls maneuver. I'm now going to get away, and I'm screaming at Draconis like, get out of there, we've got to get out of here now. We need to escape at least 2 ships into the line here to get away. However, unfortunately for Draconis, while he's nearly finished off the Imperial that's been dogging him for the entire game, his health now is very low. I myself have been chased by a Chaos ship. However, not too worried. I think I can make it up and out of here. Draconis got into silent running mode. He's going to try and make a run for himself. And you can see the Chaos ship is powering after me. He does not want me to cross that finish line and get out of here. Back into stealth I go though. Shots spinning wildly past me. And he's like, damn it. He's out of there. He's gone. He's gone. And across the finish line I go. So now it really is all on Draconis. Can he make it? He's trying his best. He's still got 1 Imperial after him. He is invisible though, with very little health. He is playing the same hand. So the Imperial ship finally has given up the chase and is warping away. But there's a lot of Chaos ships still alive, and there's a lot of ordnance still. The question is, can Draconis make it to the finish line before they catch up with him? Now, there is a possibility he's going to get assisted by 1 cruiser that was chasing me, but he's still got a fair bit of health, so he may be able to make it. However, you'll notice, though, that he's taken such damage that he can't actually use his repair ability anymore because he's on heavy damage. So, and that's one of the things you need to know. He's also survived the mutiny, so his captain isn't exactly performing as well as it probably could. slowly but surely. And there are some very nail-biting moments when you're playing Eldar, just like this one. So, again guys, if you're playing Eldar, approach it cautiously. You'll find at first that it's fantastic, you'll do fantastic damage in the lower ranks, but when you get up to the harder games of players that really know what they're doing, it's not all pushing up daisies here. We're actually going to find that it's quite a difficult matchup sometimes, especially, as I said, if the enemy players know what they're doing like they do here. The Chaos ship is trying to power forward, he's launching his ordnance, and we said Eldar are susceptible to ordnance, especially from Chaos vessels, and look at that damage he has just taken. He's so close though, so close. I can feel it. If he could just get a little bit closer, we may win this. One volley comes in, but no, it is too late, and that is exactly what I mean, ladies and gentlemen. A close game, but it's not always a win playing Eldar. As I said, a good race. Overall, probably one of the strongest, and yes, they may get some nerfs, but they're not always going to win. So if you do play these, as I said, have fun, enjoy them, and don't listen to the guys whining about how tough they are, because as I said, if you know what you're doing with Chaos, if you know what you're doing with your Orcs, you can take Eldar out pretty easily. I hope you've enjoyed watching this video. As always, this is Bane, signing out.